What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Sound Design channel. My name is La. Today we're going to be looking at this FM chord lead. So this is a lead sound that's going to be kind of taking over the track. It's the main focus of the track. So I'll just show it you on its own and then we'll have a look at it in context. Okay, and I'll just show it you in context here. Nice. Okay, so we're going to be diving into quite a few things with this sound. We're going to look at the MIDI, the writing, the sound design, of course, and then the processing and a bit of the automation that I've done here to get it to work with the track. Okay, so let's dive in. Alright, so this sound is taken from the new modern melodic techno preset pack, which will be linked down below. It also comes with a course to teach you sound design in Serum. So I highly recommend that you check it out if you're new to sound design or if you're intermediate and you just want to brush up on your skills. So as I said, it will be linked down below. So this MIDI here, this is taken from that pack. Let's have a look at it. So we're playing the root note, and then we're playing a fifth above, so that's 7 semitones up, which makes the perfect fifth. It's a very nice tone. It's very common in melodic techno and a lot of other genres. And then we just have a few little notes dotting in between. We are in the G minor scale, I believe. Yeah, so in the G minor scale, staying within the scale, but we're playing these notes here. So we're playing like the fifth and then the sixth. And then the seventh. And by doing these notes that are quite close to each other, it does give this kind of moody feel to the sound. It's very typical in melodic techno as well. And right now, the kind of modern sound of melodic techno is doing these kind of rat-a-ta sounds, which is like the anima thing. So if you listen here, just make sure it's soloed. So this little this is a very common tone that you'll hear right now. And all you do to do that, say if you're making your melody and you'll be in 16th notes, just change it to 32s, and then you can put in these little in-between notes into your rhythm. To be able to get that rhythm to work, is you need the sound design or the preset to be nice and short and snappy, which we're going to have a look at. So yeah, that's the MIDI. If you want to dive more into it, then check out the MIDI that comes with the preset pack. Now we're going to dive into the sound design. Alright, so for the sound design, we are starting from an initial patch. This is in the remake channel. And I've turned off all the processing and the automation. And then I'll put it on after and show you kind of how it's working and what's doing what. But first we're going to start with the plain sound design here. So what we want to do to start things off is start from this sub oscillator here. So in Serum we have the 3 oscillators, well technically 4 with the noise. So we start with the sub, we have it on a sawtooth, and we want to filter it. So these represent the different filters or the different oscillators that are then going into this filter. We turn the filter on, and then we'll have a listen. Turn this one off so you can just hear it. Okay, so that nice plain sawtooth in the sub oscillator. Just because we're using a sub oscillator, it doesn't mean it has to be a sub, as in like a sub bass. It's just another oscillator that people can use as a plain sub. But in this case, we're not really using it as a sub. It's just another sawtooth we're adding. So we'll take away a bit of the volume. This isn't going to be the main focus, this one. We're now going to add in these other oscillators. So oscillator A. With this, we're going to put it on this mini bass here. It's a bit of a strange oscillator. We'll leave the wavetable position as it is, but we're going to add some unison for some width. And then we're going to decrease the detune. Yeah. And then we're going to add oscillator B. And then oscillator B is this alien spectral or something like that. Spectral, which is a spectral oscillator. It's kind of a weird digital one. And this one we're going to be using to FM this one. So we go FM from B. And so FM is like frequency modulation. So it's like modulating this waveform with this waveform. And for this, we're going to increase the FM to around here. And we will be adding a little bit of movement to that so it changes and whatnot. And so then the next thing we need to do is filter this oscillator. We are listening to all 3 oscillators, so we want to make sure that they're all filtered. And we will actually filter the noise as well, as we're going to add that in a second. So we should have this kind of tone. And now the next thing we want to do is filter this down a little bit. And then we're going to add some movement to this filter. So we're going to add envelope 2. Envelope 1, you leave it as it is. Envelope 2 here, we're going to make it nice and short. Bring the decay to around 580, something like that. Bring this to around 200. We add that to the cutoff filter around here. Yeah, nice. Next we add the noise oscillator. We put it onto bright white, wherever it is, bright white, there we go. Bring the volume all the way down, put the envelope 2 here, and then this we're going to just bring it to around there. So we just want to hear it a bit, but we don't want it to take over the sound. Yeah, nice. Okay, so you can hear now that we pretty much have the tone of the sound. So the processing from here in terms of effects and things like that is kind of down to you if you want to add all the different kind of things there, but the main base of the sound is what we've just done there. So now let's go into the effects and just add what we have. So the first thing we want to add is some distortion. So we're going to go to the diode. This is a very strong distortion, but it's very effective. You just use it a small amount. So we bring this mix to around here. It's subtle because I'm using it very lightly, but you're going to hear it's adding this kind of like crunchiness. If I just increase this. So that's what we're adding, but a very little amount. Just that little added bite. The next thing is a phaser. The phaser, we bring the mix all the way down, and then we're going to bring this envelope 2. So we're going to stab in a bit of the phaser. And we can actually increase this mix a bit. So it's like the phaser is permanently on the sound, but then we're increasing it with the envelope. Nice. Okay, the next thing that we're going to add is a bit of compression, just to even the sound out. So for the compression settings, we want the attack to be a little slower. So if you have a quick attack, it's going to really grab the transients with the sound. If you have a slow attack, it will preserve a bit of the transient, so it will make the sound more punchy. Right now we're not doing much gain reduction, so let's increase this. We're getting some gain reduction now, so we're reducing the volume of the sound, and now we need to bring up the volume, so the makeup. That's going to even out the sound a little bit, so the things that are more quiet in the sound, like the decays and the release and things like that, that's going to now be increased in volume, and the sharpness or the initial hit of the sound will be softened slightly. Okay, and then the next thing is a bit of delay. Bring this delay after the compression. This, we're going to put the filter. This is a filter here, this purple thing. We're going to bring it over to the end. You can slightly curve it here. Put the ping pong on. Bring this mix down a little bit. Bring the feedback up. And then we're going to actually mess around with this timing here. So you can put this on to 32 and then put this on dotted. So if you drag that all the way to the top, it will go on 32 dotted. And then we want to change this one as well to 16, which is here. And you can slightly offset this by a second or so. A little bit more. Yeah, around there. This is just to add this kind of like trippy feel to the sound. And then the last thing we want to add is a bit of reverb. So the reverb is going after the delay. That's how we have it. Yeah. We can leave the settings for the most part like this, but we can just filter it a little bit here. And then we're going to bring the mix all the way down and then just add it with this envelope. So there, we're going to bring the mix down a little bit. So this envelope's doing a lot of the work. It's adding the stab to the sound. Okay. And that is the sound basically. So the next thing that we want to do is add something that we can play with. So in this case, it's going to be the macro here. We're going to add this onto the cutoff filter. We're going to bring this down a bit. We don't want it to be super open. And we're also going to add this macro to the decay. And then we can just leave that open. So as we play with this, it will open the sound up. There we go. And we might want to start with the sound a little bit more closed. And then we open it with this. Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. So this is the sound design. We can save that now if you want to. Obviously, I've already got this saved. So save it, so you've got it. And then we're going to go into the processing. Okay, so the first thing I did is I just put a little auto filter on it. And that was just so I could filter it up to this point here. And let me just listen here. So you can hear it's very quiet or non-existent. Okay, so it just gradually comes in. That's a good way to introduce a lead rather than it just coming in straight away. You can just filter it in nicely. So what I've done is just automated this filter by pressing A, and then you just click on here. Sorry, I'm looking on the wrong one. This one here. And then I'll just put a marker at the bottom and then bring it up to the top. Very simple automation. And then the next thing was a pedal. So I actually did these two together. I put the pedal and this amp on, and this adds more dirt and grit to the sound. I put it on this distortion, and then the amp I left it at the default. And then I just put the mix up on both of these. So as this sound is increasing and opening up, it's adding more grit and more bite. And then when we come to the drop, I took away this automation here because it's not needed. The sound as it is good. It's just to add this more tension and aggression to the sound. Okay, so yeah, the last thing I added here was this echo, and this echo is just kind of echoes the sound out just towards the end here where there's this gap. So as we're adding more of the intensity with the distortion and things like that, I'm adding more echo, so it kind of just bleeds over into this little gap. Well, let's have a little listen. And then it goes in context. We'll have a little listen. I'll just turn this one off. Oh, we're missing the pad. Just imagine the pad's there. Okay, so it doesn't just die off abruptly. It kind of like feeds over into this little section here. So basically, these three things here are just for the transition. They're not to kind of add anything to the sound when it's in the groove. It's purely just for that transition moment, just adding tension basically. The last thing is just sidechain compression to the kick, simple stuff, and then a bit of EQ where I'm just tidying the sound up. I'm just taking away a bit of the lows and taking away a bit of the highs, as I found them a little bit kind of nasally. So yeah, that is it there for the processing. In terms of the automation that I did on the sound, if we go back to the original here, what I did is I assigned that macro that we made. I assigned that to my keyboard, just like a little wheel on my keyboard, and then just moved it up and down as we were going through the little accents on the sound. So if we have a little listen. So I'm just opening the cutoff and the decay together with that one macro that we set up, and then I'm also automating the cutoff filter a bit more. So I'm opening that more, so you can see here. Just click on this one, and so the cutoff filter is just slowly opening up as the sound is evolving and opening and opening and opening. And then I'm playing with that cutoff filter, kind of just adding little accents throughout the groove, just to keep it interesting, basically. Nice and simple stuff. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the sound, guys. I hope it was helpful and inspirational. And if you guys want to grab it, of course, the links will be down below. Thanks, guys. Catch you in the next video.